September 12, 2025, Taiwan Strait. What you're about to hear is based on documented freedom of navigation operations, combined with declassified naval encounter protocols and first-hand accounts from serving officers. The tactics are real, the technology is real, the tension absolutely real. 150 yards. That's 1.5 football fields between two warships carrying enough firepower to flatten a city block. September 12, 2025, Taiwan Strait, 3:42 p.m. local time. A Chinese destroyer isn't shadowing the USS Higgins. It's aiming straight for it. No radio contact, no warning. Just 9,200 tons of American steel facing down 7,500 tons of Chinese firepower accelerating to intercept speed. And the U.S. Navy has exactly 90 seconds to decide. Hold course and call China's bluff, or flinch and lose credibility in the entire Pacific theater. Radio operators try everything: English, Mandarin, emergency maritime channels, dead air. The Chinese warship keeps bearing down, bow pointed like a spear, 27 knots and climbing. That's a guided missile destroyer designed to sink submarines, obliterate aircraft, and engage surface targets simultaneously. And right now, it's locked onto an American destroyer conducting a lawful transit through international waters. The crew below deck can feel it, not fear, electricity. Because when you're this close to another warship, silence isn't confusion. It's a message, and that message is crystal clear. We're not stopping. Your move. Radar operators watch their screens. The Chinese vessel's trajectory shifts again, not away. Closer speed jumps from 21 knots to over 25 in less than half a minute. That's not patrol behavior. That's intercept protocol, the kind of acceleration you see before a weapons engagement. The AN/SPY-1D radar, a phased array system that's been the backbone of U.S. naval air defense for decades, tracks every meter, every degree of turn, every second of closing distance, and the numbers keep shrinking. 185 yards, then 170. The bridge calculates time to impact, 2 minutes, maybe less. One mistake here means collision, and collision means casualties. International crisis, maybe worse. Inside the Combat Information Center, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen stares at her screen. She's run this scenario in training 100 times. But training doesn't capture the weight in your chest when it's real steel, bearing down on your ship. CPA continuing to decrease, she reports. Closest point of approach, the number that determines whether this is a close encounter or a catastrophe. Another hail goes out, firm, professional, measured. Chinese naval vessel, this is United States warship conducting lawful passage in accordance with international law. Alter bearing immediately, nothing comes back. They try again in Mandarin. Perfect tones, clear pronunciation, still silence. But it's not like they don't hear it. Their radios work fine. This is intentional, a calculated refusal to acknowledge. In maritime law, that's not just rude, it's hostile. The crew aboard the Higgins knows exactly what this means. Beijing wants to see how far they can push before Washington pushes back. On the bridge, Captain Marcus Webb stands motionless. 23 years in the Navy, 3 combat deployments. He's never seen anything quite like this. Maintain course and speed, he says quietly. His voice carries the weight of command, but also calculation. Every decision now ripples across the Pacific. So what's bearing down on the USS Higgins? A Type 052D destroyer, pennant number 161, CNS Hohhot, China's frontline warship, HHQ, 9 long-range surface-to-air missiles with a range exceeding 100 nautical miles. YJ-18 supersonic anti-ship cruise missiles that can strike from 290 miles out. A 130mm H/PJ-38 deck gun that fires 40 rounds per minute and can shred aircraft and small vessels. Plus Type 346 A-Dragon I phased array radar and advanced fire control systems. This isn't some patrol boat. This is a blue water combatant built specifically to challenge American naval dominance in the Pacific. And right now, it's playing a very dangerous game. But here's the thing. The Higgins isn't exactly defenseless. She's an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, Flight 2. Commissioned in 1999, she's been the sharp end of American naval power for over 2 decades. Aegis combat system, Tomahawk cruise missiles, Harpoon anti-ship missiles, Mark 45 5-inch gun that can engage surface and air targets, Displacement, 9,200 tons fully loaded. Crew, 380 sailors and officers. And every single one of them is trained to handle exactly this kind of pressure. The main gun rotates, slowly, deliberately, just enough for the Chinese bridge to notice. No rounds loaded, not yet, but the movement says everything. We see you, and we're ready. Below deck, the Combat Information Center logs every detail. Heading, speed, angle of approach, voice recordings, radar snapshots, time-stamped down to the second. Petty Officer James Rodriguez, radar technician, is creating a digital record that could end up in front of the United Nations Security Council if this goes wrong. Because if this turns into an international incident, the U.S. needs ironclad proof, not just statements, evidence that will hold up in any court, any tribunal, any diplomatic forum. The Higgins operates under strict rules of engagement, legal frameworks that dictate when force is justified, and right now, they're walking that line perfectly. Document everything. Show strength without provocation. Prepare for the worst. Hope for the best. The 5-inch gun continues its slow traverse. Visible, unmistakable, but not aimed to fire. It's a signal, a warning wrapped in steel, and the Chinese crew can see it clear as day. Meanwhile, the ANSLQ-32 V7 electronic warfare suite activates. Sensors sweep the electromagnetic spectrum. Within seconds, they detect a narrowband radar emission. Source? The Chinese destroyer. It's not just watching. It's actively scanning the Higgins with fire control radar. Target acquisition behavior. The kind of radar work you do before you shoot. One officer mutters what everyone's thinking. They're locking us up, but they won't talk to us. Tension fills every compartment, but there's no panic, no shouting. Just disciplined, efficient movement. Helmsman holds course. Engine room maintains speed. Fire control tracks angles but keeps weapons on standby. Because the next step would be escalation. And nobody wants that. Not here. Not now. Not over a game of chicken in international waters. But the message is clear to everyone aboard. If China takes this one step further, the Higgins will respond. And when a U.S. Navy destroyer responds, it doesn't do it halfway. Then the tempo shifts. Rotor blades start spinning on the aft deck. An MH-60R Seahawk lifts off. No weapons, no attack profile, just presence. Lieutenant Amy Foster pilots the helicopter with smooth precision. In the left seat, her co-pilot handles the sensors. The helicopter climbs to 200 feet and activates its forward-looking infrared pod. Heat signatures bloom on the Chinese ship's deck. Bridge crew, engine vents, radar mounts, and 2 sailors standing near the forward gun. Helmets on, waiting. The sensor operator zooms in. Every movement gets recorded, geotagged, time-stamped, uploaded in real time. If Beijing tries to deny this later, they'll be facing high-definition proof. The Seahawk circles overhead. Its camera captures everything: deck activity, gun positions, bridge windows. This isn't just surveillance. It's documentation, a flying courtroom exhibit. Because modern naval standoffs aren't won with gunfire. They're won with evidence. And right now, the U.S. is building an airtight case, one frame at a time. Then nothing happens. And that's the scariest part. The Chinese destroyer doesn't slow, doesn't turn, doesn't answer. Just keeps coming. Steady bearing, decreasing range. The crew near the 130mm gun haven't moved. They're not manning the weapon yet. But the covers are off. That's not accidental. That's preparation. The kind you see right before things go kinetic. Aboard the Higgins, command faces a choice. Shadow the threat and stay close, or push through and assert dominance. Shadowing is safer, less aggressive, but it invites more pressure. Pushing through sends a message. We're not intimidated, but it also increases collision risk. Captain Webb weighs the options in seconds. The Combat Information Center runs the scenarios. Collision probability, high. Escalation risk, moderate. Legal standing, rock solid. Because the Higgins is 18.4 nautical miles from the nearest territorial claim, fully within international waters. Every action taken is lawful under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, and yet the Chinese ship keeps closing. The Seahawk overhead captures micro-movements. Engine room crew bracing for impact. Starboard rail observers shifting stance. Everyone's ready. Everyone's waiting. And then the call comes again. Contact bearing steady. Closest point of approach now under 150 yards. Time to intercept. 1 minute. This is it. The decision point. Hold ground or set a precedent the Navy can't afford. This isn't just about two ships anymore. It's about credibility, deterrence, the entire strategic balance in the Pacific, and both sides know it. This is chess at 27 knots, and someone has to blink first. Then it happens. The Chinese destroyer's bow shifts. Barely. 5 degrees starboard, just enough to avoid direct impact. Speed drops, 26 knots, then 23, then 21. The math has been done. They wanted it close, not catastrophic. Seconds later, a voice crackles over the radio. Mandarin. Flat. Formal. U.S. Navy vessel, you are approaching Chinese-administered maritime zones. Maintain safe distance and alter course. No emotion, no urgency. Just the statement Beijing wants on record. The Higgins replies immediately. Calm, clear, broadcast in the open. This is United States warship USS Higgins conducting routine transit through international waters in accordance with international law. Your unsafe maneuvers have been documented and will be reported through appropriate diplomatic channels. Translation? We're not leaving, and your legal fiction doesn't scare us. The Seahawk still overhead records every word, every radar pulse, every movement. On the Chinese deck, the crew steps back from the main gun. One sailor waves, arms wide, palms forward, the universal maritime gesture for stand down. But they're not retreating, just repositioning, slowing the tempo, stretching the moment. Both ships remain at full readiness, both still armed, both still watching. But the immediate danger? It's passing. This isn't surrender, it's theater. A performance for domestic audiences, international observers, and anyone watching the satellite feeds. And the Higgins? She holds her line. Still recording, still ready, still waiting. Because in these waters, one encounter isn't the end. It's just the opening move. To understand what just happened, you need to understand where it happened. The Taiwan Strait, 110 miles wide at its narrowest point. For decades, it's been one of the most volatile waterways on Earth. China views it as internal waters. The US, Taiwan, and most of the international community recognize it as an international strait. That difference in interpretation? It's not academic. It's the difference between peace and war. Since 1949, when the Chinese Civil War ended with the Communist Party controlling mainland China and the nationalist government retreating to Taiwan, this strait has been ground zero for cross-strait tensions. Multiple crises, missile tests, military buildups, and now, nearly 80 years later, the tension has never been higher. China conducts hundreds of military aircraft incursions into Taiwan's air defense identification zone every year. The U.S. Navy transits the strait roughly once a month. Freedom of navigation operations designed to assert that international law, not Beijing's preferences, governs these waters. Every transit is a statement. Every encounter is a test. And what happened on September 12th wasn't random. It was the latest play in a long-running strategy. For months, China's been testing limits, shadowing U.S. patrols, harassing Japanese destroyers, forcing Australian aircraft into evasive maneuvers. South China Sea, East China Sea, Taiwan Strait. The pattern repeats. Get close, apply pressure, stay just below the threshold of war. The goal? Normalize aggression, make dangerous encounters feel routine. So when the real crisis hits, nobody's sure where the red line is anymore. This is gray zone warfare. Military action that doesn't quite trigger a response. No shots fired. Just proximity, intimidation, calculated risk. And China's getting bolder. June 2025, HMS Spey, a British offshore patrol vessel, transits the Taiwan Strait. China accuses her of deliberately causing trouble. August 2025, USS Higgins conducts a freedom of navigation operation near Scarborough Shoal in the South China Sea. Chinese vessels shadow her. Beijing claims they expelled the American warship. The U.S. Navy flatly denies it. Early September 2025, Australian destroyer HMAS Brisbane and Canadian frigate HMCS Ville de Quebec transit the Taiwan Strait together. Chinese military condemns it as provocation. September 12, 2025. HMS Richmond, a British Type 23 frigate, joins USS Higgins for a joint transit. The encounter you just heard about. Days later, Chinese fighter jets conduct constructive kill maneuvers against HMS Richmond. Simulated attacks, no weapons fired. Just a message. We know how to kill you. The U.S. Navy sees the pattern. That's why ships like the Higgins sail with cameras, legal teams, and helicopters equipped with electronic sensors. This isn't just about defending sea lanes. It's about defending the narrative. Prove you followed the law, you win diplomatically. Provoke a mistake on camera, you get your propaganda victory. So no, what happened in the Taiwan Strait on September 12th wasn't an accident. It was calibrated pressure, and this time, both sides walked away. But here's what it proved. In the modern Pacific, the most dangerous weapon isn't a missile. It's miscalculation. One wrong move, one misread signal, and 150 yards becomes zero. Steel meets steel, and the world watches what happens next. This encounter showed that both navies understand the stakes. They'll push, they'll test, but they'll stop short of the point of no return. For now. But that calculus can change. Fast. Because here's the reality. The Taiwan Strait will remain contested as long as the fundamental disagreement exists. China won't stop claiming sovereignty. The US won't stop asserting freedom of navigation. Taiwan won't surrender its de facto independence. And every month, American warships will sail through. And Chinese warships will shadow them. Each encounter is a roll of the dice. Most of the time, both sides play it safe. But miscalculation doesn't announce itself. It just happens. And when it does, 380 American sailors and hundreds of Chinese sailors could find themselves in a shooting war neither government actually wants. That's the thin edge between deterrence and disaster. And the USS Higgins just walked it. So here's the question for you. Should the US push back harder during these encounters? Increase the frequency of transits? Sail closer to disputed features? Or is staying calm, maintaining discipline, and documenting everything the smarter long game? Drop your take in the comments. We read every single one. If this breakdown of real-world naval brinkmanship got your attention, hit that like button and subscribe. We're bringing you more untold stories of modern military strategy and the high-stakes games being played in contested waters around the globe. And if you want to go deeper, join the fleet. You'll get loyalty badges, priority replies, behind-the-scenes analysis, and you'll help us surface more true stories like this. Just click join on our channel page. Next time, we're covering the submarine incident in the South China Sea that nearly triggered a shooting war between nuclear powers. It involves a Virginia-class attack sub, Chinese anti-submarine aircraft, and a game of cat and mouse 400 feet below the surface. You won't want to miss it. And remember, when you're playing chicken with a US Navy destroyer, you better bring more than silence and bad intentions. See you in the next one.